Actually, there was a rumor in Japan where Andre used the N-word, and Bad News Brown took exception to it, and Bad News Brown didn't blink and invited Andre to step out of the van.
Oh, right, okay? I heard that on a
Okay,
van.
I wasn't in the van, but I heard it from enough people. Now, Bad News Brown was more the Malcolm X type than the Martin Luther King type, as we discussed earlier, right. Okay? And I was lucky he liked me.
Zach Harris, I found it very strange that Vince McMahon wasn't interviewed or featured at all in the Randy Savage DVD that WWE recently put out. Do you have any insight as to why he wasn't interviewed for the documentary? It's especially strange because you talk about how Randy was never asked back to WWE after Vince bought WCW, and how no one seems to know why. You would think Vince could have cleared things up a little.
Well, I liked about 85% of that DVD. How much did you like?
I thought it was very well done.
Well, everything they do.
And I liked that they included you in so much of it. Because a lot of times these tales are told up there through these guys that are 20 years old talking about, you know, what they watch on TV. But to have you kind of anchor the whole story, I thought was, I guess, a brave thing. I can't believe I'm saying something nice about Connecticut, but I thought it was a brave thing to have them do.
Okay, here's my... Not everything that a wrestler says is going to be true. Yeah. Sometimes it's like George Costanza, it's not a lie if you believe it. You know, you might be mistaken, not really a lie, or maybe you'll pass the polygraph because you think it's true. Everybody seems to think Randy married his high school sweetheart. Well, that's a pretty good trick since she's from Tennessee and he's from Illinois. Actually, specifically South Pittsburgh, Tennessee, close to Chattanooga. Randy's from Downers Grove, Illinois, close to Chicago. Either way, even the Macho Man can't pull that off, okay? So, and the other one is, boy, Jerry Lawler was really interested in, literally locked him in the closet, locked him in the closet. Well, let's look at Wikipedia right now.
Okay.
If you're going to train a dog, what's the first rule? You got to know more than the dog, Jerry. You got to know more than the dog. How many times have you been divorced? Once? Twice? 3 times? Stop me when I'm warm, okay? Stop me when I've had enough. See, I love Frazier and I love Kelsey Grammer. I love those guys, you know. 20 years, same routine. Why? It's funny when a psychiatrist is crazier than the patient. So, my daughter got married last year. She says, do you have any advice for me? I said, yes. Ask advice from happily married people. If you want to know about health foods or saving your money or investing it, I'm your man. Don't ask me about happy marriages. Go to a person who claims to be happy. So I'm saying, locked her in the closet. Okay, did you try the door? I bet you didn't. I bet you didn't try the door. You know why? Macho Man was on the other side of that door. Yet you had enough balls to speak ill of the dead. Okay, now before we continue, let me just run this by you because I can lose my train of thought. Elizabeth didn't want to leave her room. Randy didn't want Elizabeth to leave her room. She didn't want to take a shower with Brian Knobbs.
Well, imagine that.
Well, you know,
fate worse than death. No, I know what you're saying. She wanted to be among the women that were there, and that's where the women were.
His gimmick was Nasty Boy, and he tried to earn that gimmick as often as possible. Okay, Elizabeth didn't want to shower with Brian Knobbs, and do you know what happened to Jerry Lawler do you think the boys' room was a great place to be in? I wish I would have had my own locker room that Randy would have locked me in. Let me tell you what, like a Dr. Seuss book for Jerry Lawler would have been, They Shat in My Hat. Did you know about that?
They shit in his crown the first night he was there.
Several times until the WWE put a memo out, stop shitting in Jerry Lawler's crown.
Well, imagine owning a business where you have to put out a memo, please stop shitting in someone's hat, signed by the chief executive officer. When was Jerry in Macho and Elizabeth's company at the same time?
They weren't.
His run, Macho and Elizabeth's run was 85 to when she was still around, 90.
That's right.
He wasn't there.
That's brilliant, and thank you for saying it. It means more coming from, you know, you're supposed to be a neutral guy.
I am.
Okay, so, yes, what he said. Jerry Lawler didn't even come to WWE, and yet he sure seemed to know a lot about it, about how he mistreated Elizabeth. If you're so smart, Why are you divorced? Again and again and again and again.